It's interesting that when you talk about like ADHD, for example, Dr. Gabor Maté talks about it as a trauma response. And he says the reason why ADHD is a trauma response is because when we're young and we're less developed emotionally and we do not have coping tools, what most children do in the face of trauma or difficulty or emotional unavailability is they daydream and they zone out and they kind of, just go into another like place in their minds. And that becomes an escape mechanism. And they learn to do that when they're young because they can't experience the emotions that are happening around them or in them, or the trauma that's happening around them or in them. And the safest thing to do is escape. And so then we train the brain when things are stressful or scary or threatening, and whether they are or not, because at a point, sometimes the body just registers threat, regardless of if there's threat, because that monitoring system is always on alert. And the brain becomes trained to check out almost immediately. So think of ADHD, think of school, think of stressful situations at school. Children go through performance-based, their stress starts to increase for whatever reason, maybe, and they immediately check out, start to daydream. And that's actually a stress trauma response because their brain was trained that if there's an increase in stress, the answer is to check out, to find a distraction and to escape. So when he talks about ADHD as a trauma response, he says it's a coping mechanism so that we can get through our lives without being over saturated with the things that are too difficult for us to feel.